Anabella Maria Galang, and I'm the founder and president of the Steminist Movement. I'm here today with Dr. Robert Weinberg.
My parents left Germany in May of 1938 when they could still get out. My father had been a dentist for 2 decades in Germany, had to get recertified, so the University of Pittsburgh had spaces for retraining dentists. So that's how they ended up in Pittsburgh and how I was born and grew up in Pittsburgh.
That's great.
Yeah. Only about half a mile from where that massacre was just just occurred in Pittsburgh, where 11 people were shot, or 13, I forget the number. Anyhow, so I went to public school in Pittsburgh. Friends of my parents heard I was interested in college. Their sons went to MIT, so I applied to MIT not knowing anything about the place. I was admitted, and so I ended up here on the doorstep in 1960 at MIT. I was an undergraduate at MIT. My grades were so mediocre that the only graduate school I could get into was MIT's biology department, because they knew me personally. They didn't just take my grades as an indication of what I could or could not do. And so here I was. I ended up back here at MIT, 1965. After a year in graduate school, I went down to Alabama and taught in a black college there, 1965-66. I was their biology department. And then, much to the surprise of my parents and the MIT biology department, I actually showed back up here and finished my PhD research. I then did 2 postdoctoral stints. In those days, doing multiple postdoctoral training stints was standard procedure. I did 1.5 years at the Weizmann Institute in Israel and 1.5 years at the Salk Institute in La Jolla, California. And in 1972, I was told by the new director of the MIT Cancer Center, Salvador Luria, that I was coming back to MIT. He didn't actually ask me whether I wanted to. He just told me that's what my fate would be. And I didn't object, because MIT was an attractive place to be. It was then, and it is now, 46 years later, so I have no regrets at having come back. But some might depict my life as much like a stick in the mud, somebody who stays in one place all his career, unlike many academics who were like gypsies and roam across the face of the earth, moving from one university to another. As I say, though, I have no regrets. In those days, my lab started working on tumor viruses, not because the viruses were themselves involved in cancer production, but because they offered the opportunity to study certain molecules, such as RNA molecules, that otherwise could not be readily studied in these days before the cloning of DNA. And eventually that took my group and myself, one step at a time, into actual cancer research, and leading ultimately in 1979 to the discovery of a cancer gene, an oncogene, that had been activated by a chemical carcinogen and was responsible for transforming the cell around it into a cancer cell. And so that really put us on an entirely new trajectory. And to this day, my lab has worked on various aspects of cancer formation. These days, over the last decade, focusing increasingly on the process of metastasis, wherein cancer cells within a primary tumor spread to distant parts of the body and serve as founders of new colonies of cancer cells, these metastatic colonies being responsible for about 90% of cancer-associated mortality.
All right, thank you. That was very eloquent. I appreciate that.
I am Robert Weinberg, and I am a Steminist.